Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our long-running series, The Unported Playlist, where I take a look at my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and we're right in the middle of Unported Hall of Fame, where I dig back into the beginning of the series and talk about some of my favorite games that remain unported now that we have a much larger audience. And one of the first games I put on that list was Power Instinct 5, because I love this entire series, Matrimelee being my favorite on the Neo Geo. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this game was released in 2009 by Atlus and Noise Factory, and it runs on the Taito Type X and X2 hardware, which I do have right underneath me as I do this voiceover. If you can't tell already, it is a classic 2D fighting game for the arcade. It never got ported home, it never came to the West. This is a Japanese arcade exclusive that you can play on your PC with Teknoparrot, or you can buy a Taito Type X like I have here. But this is just one of my favorite fighting games of all time, and it is not just because it's quirky and weird, but honestly, it is very quirky and it is very weird. I just love the mechanics of the Power Instinct series, and it marries my two favorite things together: weirdness in video games and competent 2D fighting games that are not called Street Fighter. Nothing against Street Fighter, I've just never clicked with it. I love more of the Neo Geo style fighting setup like King of Fighters, and something like Power Instinct 5 is just bringing that to me. But this series is just absolutely wild from its inception all the way through to the most recent game that you're seeing here. This game has a giant sense of humor and it wears its personality on its sleeve. All of the backgrounds are lush and vibrant, fully drawn in 2D. All of the sprites are well animated. Now, some of these sprites definitely are just borrowed completely from Matrimelee with very little upgrades to them, but some of the new characters look slightly better in the animation department, but honestly, if you weren't really pixel peeping, you couldn't tell. But mechanically, a fighting game lives or dies based upon how you play it and how well it is designed, and I will say, I think Matrimelee is an A-tier game. All of the combos, all of the cancels, all of the transformations and the stress meter really go to make this an all-round, fully featured fighting game in my opinion. And that's why I love this game so much. Not only is it a super competent fighting game, it just has a sense of style, like this background right here, all of these soldiers singing and saluting in the background, but when the screen scrolls back to the left, you're going to see the conductor is also basically having a fight with himself, turning left and right and throwing jabs. You kind of want to look at the background and see what's going on, but that's a bad idea because you are in an active fight, and that's the best and worst part about a game like this. The artwork is so good you want to stop and look at it, but you really can't stop because you have to have a fight. Although these little cutscenes in between are amazing, and I love all the art for them. I will say that if English is on this build, I can't activate it, never change the language, it never adheres, so it seems to be that maybe this is just Japanese exclusive, because I'm sure this never was intended to come to the US based upon the year of its release, because in 2009, American arcades are not doing well whatsoever. But moving on to this next match as well, Power Instinct 5 is a mix of returning characters from the original series, including Matrimelee, with some new characters as well, but all of the backgrounds are brand new. Some songs definitely are reused, but otherwise, this feels like a new and fresh take on the Matrimelee and Power Instinct series, and it is so unfortunate it never came home. This would have been perfect on something like the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3, because I am playing against the CPU here, not against a human opponent, although the CPU is able to 100% block my super, and it does suck when you whiff that completely, because you build up that gauge just for them to block it out. But this is the type of game, much like any other fighting game, if you have friends over and they learn it with you, this becomes 100% more fun to play. Bring it to your next fight game night. I've got some friends in Vermont that do a weekly fighting game meetup, and I insisted they play this game because nobody there had played it, and I'm trying to get as many people as possible to play both Matrimelee and Power Instinct 5. I think it is one of the best hidden gem fighting games that most people in North America never seem to play and never seem to talk about. And for me, that's an absolute travesty because this series is just amazing. But the best part about Power Instinct and this game in particular is the soundtrack. It is so good. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll be right back. The Power Instinct 5 soundtrack is unlike anything you've probably ever heard before, unless you do like playing Matrimelee, then you've heard something similar, but I love this transformation scene here as well with that little anime drawing. This game just has so much personality, and I admit that it's definitely not the best 2D fighting game of all time, but the personality combined with the solid mechanics puts it right up there with me. Now honestly, my favorite 2D fighting game of all time is going to be Matrimelee. I'm not going to say something like Geru Mark of the Wolves or King of Fighters 98, even though I know technically those are more competent fighting games. I just love this series, and this is my second favorite 2D fighting game of all time, and it makes me sad that not as many people know about this as I wish they did. This will just never get brought up in the same conversation as some of the games that come west, but there is an active fan base in Japan that I do know of, and I know they have tournaments every once in a while, and I do love that that exists. I'm playing around with some of the characters here that I never use. I will say that sometimes the AI can be a little bit mindless as well. Kentaro here being a shorter character, not all of your strikes are going to hit if you go high, and that is kind of a fun pivot to have to deal with that. But sometimes the AI on normal mode just seems to basically take a nap, take a break, and do absolutely nothing, and you can kind of just spam attacks into the corner to 100% take them out. And I got one little tick off my life bar there, otherwise it would have been a double perfect. So this is definitely, like I said, the type of thing that you're going to have a lot more fun with friends. But it is a fighting game, so of course there's got to be a final boss, and I will say while this boss is definitely not fair by any means of the imagination, compared to Princess Sissy and Matrimelee, it is a walk in the park, but it's still damn hard. But I love Shinjiro here, the overall style and design with that almost ship's looking wheel on his back. All of the animations, all of the sprites are huge, and I do like that they use a little bit of 3D in conjunction with everything else being hand-drawn 2D. When they do bring out some more of those graphical effects that would need a GPU to render, it does marry well together with all of the rest of the 2D, and I think they did a great job putting those two visual styles together side by side. And that just kind of brings me back around to what we talked about earlier, that this game combines every single trait that it can to be an excellent experience. Great fighting game mechanics, awesome 2D sprite work, great backgrounds, an amazing soundtrack, and now on top of that, sporadic but effective use of 3D. And I will say that you can definitely get a win off on the boss here. I ended up losing, and I probably played 4 more credits and continued to lose, but that's how fighting games go. Some days you're on, some days you're off. But every single time I take my Type X2 motherboard out and play this game, I have an absolute blast. Whether I have friends over playing with me or if I'm just playing against the CPU, this is the type of thing I take out once a month and play for 20 minutes and put it back, and I love it. But I told you the soundtrack is incredible, and I want to give you one more taste because it is very varied. So go ahead and listen for 30 seconds this time, and I'll be right back. Again, it's just such a unique soundtrack, and it does have something for everybody, and I know that that is part of the reason why I love this game and love Matrimelee. And if I did have to give the edge to one soundtrack, I would say the Matrimelee soundtrack. The best songs in that are better than the best songs here, but overall, as far as the soundtrack's concerned, I would say that Power Instinct 5 has the better soundtrack if you take into account every single song. But again, just look at all of the artwork, the reflections on this marble floor here, everybody in the background. This game just has so much style and so much flair. I can't help but love looking at it in motion. And that's the thing, this is not the only pretty fighting game out there. Something like Street Fighter Alpha 3 looks absolutely gorgeous, and I do love that game. Something like Third Strike in the Street Fighter franchise, another absolutely gorgeous game. I just don't have as much fun when I play that versus Power Instinct 5, and that's just down to the fun factor, the quirkiness, the personality, the absurdity. Everything about this game just combines together to make me absolutely love it in a way that no other fighting game franchise does. But I get it, maybe this is not for you, but the thing is, you can easily play this on Windows today. You don't need a Taito Type X like I have, and you don't need to fly to Japan to find an arcade with a cabinet on the floor. So you really kind of just owe it to yourself if you're a fighting game fan whatsoever to check this out, because I'm pretty sure if you pick it up and start playing it, you're going to have a good time. And that is why this is on Unported Playlist Hall of Fame. I absolutely love the game. I wish more people knew about it. It's never been ported home, and it's never even left Japan. But short of that, I'll have another Unported Hall of Fame video for you guys next week. And I'll have videos throughout the week as well. But Power Instinct 5, go play it. Bye-bye.